Greetings, cinephiles. Are you looking for a movie analysis podcast that stands above the rest? Then look no further than Collateral Cinema, the only movie podcast that matters.
We analyze good movies, we analyze bad movies, and yes, we also analyze the in-betweens of the world of cinema.
So if you like what you hear, find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.
And yes, my friends, we are 420 friendly. So when you listen to us,
Smoke it if you've got it.
And now, here's a new episode of Collateral Gaming. The show starts right now.
I'm Ashley Chancellor.
And I'm Bo Maddox.
And this is Collateral Gaming. Welcome to Collateral Gaming, the only video game podcast that matters, where we focus on good games, bad games, and everything else in between in the world of gaming. We're podcasting straight from Houston, Texas, and yes, my friends, we are a 420-friendly podcast, so whatever you have, smoke it if you've got it. Welcome to our second retro game review of the month. We wanted to do these back-to-back. Bo, last time you picked Night Trap, and this episode you picked Vandal Hearts, right?
Yes, Vandal Hearts is a tactical strategy RPG from 1995, I believe. It came out in 97 here in the States, and I mean, this is something that goes back really, really far with me, almost as far back as Final Fantasy VII or something like that, you know? I mean, this was kind of the RPG that you played kind of in the pre-Final Fantasy VII days when you wanted to kind of pass that time before that was going to come out and, you know, change the world and everything. So, I mean, this is not what I would call world-changing, but this definitely set new standards for this particular genre, like as far as like accessibility, as far as playability, as far as graphical fidelity, and also as far as subject matter is confirmed as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that this game was really a standout from this era of JRPGs and even for tactical RPGs. And I love tactical RPGs. I've played some Fire Emblem. I played a little bit of Final Fantasy Tactics. And it's really interesting to compare that, compare this with those and other games that I've played. This one is pretty simple, pretty straightforward when it comes to gameplay, and I think that makes it more accessible. But where it really stands out is its darker, more mature tone. And a big part of that is all the death animations, which are so satisfying. But like every time you cut down an enemy, you just see this blood splurting out. And it's in kind of in an over-the-top way, but it was just like, yeah, this game is fucking badass right off the bat.
Yeah, it was pretty much one of the first mature-rated RPGs to actually come out on the PlayStation, and that was like the other one was, I believe, Kodelka, which was like that was another tactical RPG, but that was also kind of a survival horror game as well. It's something that we'll probably touch on in a future season, I would imagine. But anyway, yeah, this was the first really mature-rated JRPG that had actual blood and everything. I mean, it didn't really have any really risque sexual or adult situations, but I mean, the blood was plenty. I mean, yeah, it's quite possibly one of the most satisfying and iconic death animations in gaming, especially from that time when you just strike that enemy down and the blood geyser comes out, and it's just, it's satisfying, and it makes the gameplay loop just so much fun to go through on each map.
Definitely, yes. And it's so intensely satisfying because of the visuals, but also the sound design. The audio design in this game is fantastic. All of the sword swipes and blood splurts and all of the different sound effects sound really, really good and are satisfying and pull it off, that feeling of intense satisfaction that you get after every kill. And that's what makes this game so addicting. And I love how it just throws you right into the middle of the first map with no tutorials. And I think that's one of the things that has, kept more mainstream gamers away from the tactical RPG genre, as these games tend to have really long tutorials. This game has no tutorial. It's not nearly as complicated as some of these other games are, but it does throw you right into it and kind of just fuck around and find out and figure it out. It held back by some technical limitations, I think, because when you play more modern strategy RPGs, there are definitely some quality of life improvements that make that experience easier, but that also kind of adds to the charm of playing these older ones too, because it's like, okay, yeah, I can see the enemy's movement range, but I can't see their attack range. So there's still a little bit of unpredictability. And for me, I'm the kind of guy that's going through these levels like perfectly and trying to do these as ideal as possible. So I'm save scumming and I'm reloading the shit out of this until it becomes clockwork.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely a type of tactical RPG gameplay that you could really get down to a science really, really quickly.
Yes.
A lot of other tactical RPGs, I grew up in the time of, like you said, Final Fantasy Tactics, but also like Tactics Ogre and Front Mission and stuff like that. And of course, Fire Emblem was an early one as well.
Yeah.
Those typically had pretty high learning curves to them.
Yes.
From my recollections. So, to have something like this where, you can get really intricate with how you progress your characters throughout the game, but it's not so deeply nuanced as like in Final Fantasy Tactics, where you have to like micromanage every single attribute,
Yeah.
It's like that's not something that really 100% matters here. This is more about building up your character to become a certain type of job class, which we'll get into the job system here in a little bit and how it differs from other RPGs. Mm-hmm. But it's more about actually kind of progressing your characters individually, mostly by just utilizing them to the best degree that you can, because this isn't something that you can really like grind on. This isn't a grind intensive RPG. Like all of the leveling up that you're going to do is going to be in the battle maps, so you really have to just kind of learn to utilize everybody well enough that they get enough experience that they can actually kind of progress and actually eventually get to the level where you can move them up to the next job class that you've chosen for them.
Yes. And that was an issue that I actually had when I was playing Fire Emblem, the Blazing Blade / Fire Emblem in the US on the GBA for the first time, was that was another game that didn't encourage grinding. It was pretty much in the story maps. That's all you had. You couldn't redo missions just like in this game. So, you had to effectively prioritize your characters and figure out, and that was something I didn't know, and I ended up having to restart the entire game after making it maybe 2/3 of the way through because I had just fucked my characters up. The good thing about Vandal Hearts is that yes, you do want to make sure that you're leveling all your characters, but the game doesn't get to a point where you can royally fuck up and not be able to get through a level. So that's nice. Some of these levels are testy. There are a couple levels with and most of these levels are just kill the enemies, but some of them have different objectives or conditions. And some of these put you in some tight situations. There are definitely sub-levels that will bring you through the ringer, and that's where you're going to want to make sure that you've leveled all your characters appropriately, and you're not just letting one character eat all the XP. But And there'll even be points where your party is split up and you'll only be controlling certain characters. So, that is a concern. But at least what's nice about this one is that for most of the game, it's not so challenging where it's just like down to the wire on things. It's like if you fuck up or the RNG fucks you up, you'll be okay and you could recover and get through the match. But there are secrets to find in every level and chests to find. And apparently, there's an exclusive class promotion to Ash that I missed out on during my playthrough of this, that you had to collect all of the keys to get, but he becomes like overpowered as fuck.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what I love about how the gameplay in this particular RPG works out. I mean, if you lose, I mean, it's not really high stakes. You can go all the way back to the beginning of the battle and you could just kind of start over and you can kind of try a fresh strategy. Like,
and there's no permadeath either.
No permadeath.
That's a relief. And you can save scum. Like the game literally has a save system in place, so you could save in the middle of a battle and reload as many times as you'd like and get it perfect.
I love that. Yeah. It's basically a save state before there were save states. Like you can have an in-battle save. So I mean, if you do happen to screw up and maybe lose a few too many characters, you can just go back and you can try again. But going back to the different types of conditions and the challenges that they add to this, I really love how they actually approach that. Like for the map that I'm on right now is the one where they try to save Kira from being executed, and you have to do that within 8 turns.
8 turns,
and you have to destroy the tower things that fuel it. So I mean, you have to be like kind of frantic, but also at the same time really like really careful in who you send out and how you attack them. Like I was mainly sending my my enchanters out to use like phase shift to kind of attack the not only all the other enemies around her, but also the towers themselves. And that strategy kind of worked, but I mean, it was also kind of having its drawbacks as well. I mean, I was still losing out in the end. I would lose Ash, which is that's a condition for defeat in a lot of these is death of Ash, or if you miss out on certain turns or whatever.
Yeah,
but. Yeah, I mean, those type of conditions were really cool. And I also really liked the train battle where you have to move up each car by like in a couple of turns,
the
or you're
train
going to lose characters.
Yes, the train level was so cool.
You just have to hit it hard and you have to keep moving forward. Or every 2 turns you're going to you might lose characters on one of the trains. I lost Huxley that way on one playthrough. So
yeah, the first time that happened to me, I reloaded, of course, because I don't usually let characters die. I know it's not permadeath, but
absolutely,
I try to avoid it. There are cases where I finally just make a sacrifice, and after reloading a dozen times, I just cannot save a character's fate. I'm like, fine, But yeah, I do try to save everyone. But yeah, I remember in that level, also the bridge level earlier on does a similar thing where, you have to keep moving the party up at a time, but you're in a constrained area. So, but the train sequence was so cool. I really enjoyed that part. And that was actually where my characters were starting to get more powerful. Actually, that's where I spent my time grinding out my last few characters to get to their level 20 so they can get promoted to their final class. So by the time I got to the Kira level, I was ready. All my archers were promoted to snipers, and I had my Sky Lord, and everybody was promoted. That just made that so much easier. But I remember I was grinding it out on the train level.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
I was making sure that particular characters were getting XP, were getting kills, because there were my last few that were level 18 or 19 that I needed to win over. So I had to strategically place all my members to do this. And that's what's really fun about this. I look at every level like a puzzle. and how I can get through it in the most ideal way possible. And it comes down to, okay, my stronger characters like Ash, I'm going to use them to counterattack or lure enemies out, but I'm going to let my weaker characters, my weaker units, finish them off. Or, the age-old strategy of letting the long-distance characters whittle down health so that your melee units can finish them off. But it goes even deeper into that when, you start introducing mages and healers, of course, and then, all of the different classes start branching, and you're trying out these different play styles and how you can work them into the routine.
Yeah, there's a lot of instances where I found myself either really having to hit really hard and be really forward and aggressive depending on the conditions.
Yeah.
Or others where I could kind of be a little more conservative and kind of, play more defensively and kind of make a formation more or less, like a formation with like my heaviest defense up front, like maybe Ash in the middle, and maybe some of my healers in the back and whatnot, and maybe some mages on the side or some hawk angels or whatever. It's like, I mean, it really allows you to just kind of experiment with your approach as far as how you utilize your units and who you actually progress to what job class and whatnot, and how you utilize them. You know, like certain archers and snipers and Hawk Knights and everything, they're going to have a longer range and everything, both longer range of attack and usually also a longer range of movement. So you kind of have to think that way, and because you have to figure out what's going to be better for me. Is like somebody who can who has a wider range of attack, or somebody who's able to move around the map a little freer,
Exactly, yeah.
So, yeah, you have to really make those types of decisions whenever you're engaging with the job system and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're constantly having to make decisions. And I find myself reloading and trying different strategies when one doesn't work out. And that's what's so great about this game. And it's so addicting because, every time you're like, okay, there's another level and I want to keep playing it and try it out and I think the game does a good job of having different varied levels. And so every mission feels unique and different and puts your character in different situations, and in one scenario, maybe you're moving all your units along in a group, moving forward, you've got a line with your front line and your frontline attackers, and then your archers, then your mages, like you were saying, or you're having to keep all of them in a tight knit group because you're surrounded on all sides by enemies, or you're progressing through a level that's making you constantly move, or you're just trying to get the fuck out of this town where there's so many overpowered enemies trying to get to you, and you've got no choice but to seclude yourself to a little island and defend your group, picking them off one by one as they come to you so you can escape.
I know exactly the map that you're talking about, and I just played it really aggressive, just tried to draw everybody out, block them where I could, and just go for the front gate and just try to get to the front of the town as quickly as possible, with taking as few losses as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just certain maps where they're going to gang up on certain characters and you're probably going to lose them. Like especially this game is really bad about that with their long range enemies, because I mean, there's some like archers or grenadiers or even like other type of monsters who have like long range attacks where they can just barely move on the other side of the map, and they can still attack like your bowmen, or they'll try to attack Ash, or they'll try to attack Clint or something like that, or Diego.
And they're at a higher elevation, so they're attacking your archers who don't actually have enough range to counter, because this game takes elevation into account. And that I really like the way that bow combat works in this game, where elevation will change how much damage you do, but also the range of the bow, which is really cool. So that's another part that you have to take into the tactics is getting the high ground.
Exactly.
But sometimes, these enemies are just set up on the high ground across the map, and like you said, they're shooting arrows at you or spitting globs at you from across the map, and they have a vendetta. The enemy AI is very aggressive, and I think it prioritizes finishing enemies off. So as soon as one or more enemies have attacked one unit, the others are just going to gang up on it because it's the closest unit that's closest to the verge of death.
But also the enemies will attack your units that they feel is going to be the biggest threat. Like for instance, they'll take out Eleni or Zoran, or they'll try to take out Huxley. You know, they'll try to take out your healers or your mages or your Hawk Knight. You know, if you're going to have somebody who has that much range and everything, it's like the AI will absolutely identify the units in your team that could give you the best advantage, and they will go after them.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've lost Diego or I've lost Amon or something like that because the computer AI, after a little bit, they just gang up on him by long range attacks and everything.
Yeah. They will gang up. I remember
absolutely.
There were some levels where I just ended up having to just sacrifice that character because there was no other way to progress. And I know like you get like a penalty for doing it. So eventually when I go back through this game, there's a lot of replay value here. I want to go back through and I want to do it perfectly. I want to get every secret and keep every character alive. But that first playthrough I feel like is kind of just your, let's survive this. Let's get through this and figure this out.
Yes. And survive is the word here. Like there's some maps where I mean the enemy count is just like holy shit, man. I just know I'm going to lose some of my units and everything. It's just inevitable. So you've just got to really prioritize, mostly prioritize Ash or whoever is a condition of defeat if they're killed or whatever. It's like, I mean, you've got to prioritize them. Like I usually keep at least a healer behind. I usually keep Ash near the back and everything.
And I buff my characters up. You know, anybody that I'm worried about that I put to the front line, or Ash especially, you know. And I like to always, is whenever I can, I take an action on my turn. So my healers are constantly, if they're not healing somebody to maximum, because you never know what'll happen, they're buffing characters up so that they can survive.
Absolutely, yeah. And they have certain spells that they can actually buff up, you know, like attack and also buff up MP and everything. So, it's best to have somebody as just a straight healer, or you can have your healer become a monk and become more of a fighting unit as well as a healer, but you know, that can go on to like ninja and whatnot.
Yeah, and I did that for Sarah. I let Sarah be my monk and ninja. But
same here.
I kept Huxley as the bishop, and I definitely kept Eleni and Zora in the mage line, because I mean that line is just so good.
Yeah.
The mages in this game are overpowered as fuck. You want as many of those as possible.
They really are. As of right now, I have both Eleni and Zoran as both enchanters.
Yeah, me too. I maxed them out to enchanters, and man, the spells in this game, you mentioned phase shift earlier. That's a favorite of mine. So are the Roman fires. So many great area of effect attacks that will just really just break the map. Salamander,
like Salamander. I mean, Salamander just pretty much envelops the entire map and everything. It's like there's actually some summons that come up that are actually pretty impressive, both from a graphical detail and also just from a gameplay advantage. You know, I mean, it'll just absolutely completely fuck up a bunch of enemies on the map like before you even get to them, you know. So it's like it's worth it to buff up and try to focus on strengthening your mages early on and strengthening your healers. Make sure that they have as much experience as you can get them, as well as your long range attacks and also your who you have as your front line, you know, like Grog or Clint or Dalgo, I think his name is. I forget his name.
Dolan. Dolan.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
made
Dolan.
him. He was my sole guardsman because I heard the guardsmen were bad at this game. The armor units were not good because they have a really low range, and what they make up for in extra attack and defense power over the swordsman line, their range and their weakness to magic holds them back. But I decided to at least try out one character as a guardsman, and I made Nolan my guardsman and then my dragoon. And you know what? I actually did find some uses for him. He usually tends to hang out in the back of the party, unfortunately, so it took some finagling to put him on the front lines, but he became my de facto tank. And it was also really nice because when he countered, he would knock out huge chunks of the enemy's health. So my weaker units or my other units that I wanted to prioritize gaining experience could just come in and finish those enemies off. It was nice.
Now, I did the opposite. I made Grog my guardsman. Grog is my guardsman, and Dolan was my swordsman.
Yeah.
So I actually have Grog kind of overpowered as a tank in his own right. I think that, honestly, some of these characters kind of take to different jobs and everything.
That's what I
better
was trying to
than
figure
others
out
do.
was
So-
which characters were suited for which roles, but it was kind of hard to see.
Yeah.
And online, there's no like list of like the character's beginner stats, so I'd have to go back through and look at the game to figure it out. But I kind of just went for
Yeah.
what I felt like each character was suited for. So like Grog to me kind of seemed more like an attacker type, so I made him a swordsman. And
Yeah, I made him just a defensive line.
yeah,
pretty much.
But I can see
That's
that too
what he
because
is.
I mean he's a big dude, and it would even kind of work with his like backstory.
Oh yeah, there was some instances where he was one hit killing certain enemies on certain maps. So yeah, that's who I have, and when I get him to Dragoon, I'm sure that he's probably going to be a bigger powerhouse. Because I really did just kind of give him a lot of experience, and I really buffed him up the best that I could.
Yeah. So I recommend keeping at least one guardsman and just experimenting with it. But let 2 out of 3 of your soldiers turn into swordsmen because the duelist class is great. As far as archers versus hawk knights, I kept 3 of my archers in the archer line because the archers in this game are really good. And when you can actually get the high ground and get that elevation advantage, you can fire from across the map. They can't fire diagonally in this game. I noticed that, but they have a lot of range in the cardinal directions.
What I would recommend is keep 2 archers and 2 hawk knight style enemies. That's what I did.
I considered that, and maybe on my next playthrough, I might balance it out. But I felt like the problem with Hawk Knights is like the armor units, they have an egregious weakness, and in this case, it's to arrows. So on some maps, just keeping one around and keeping them away from enemies that'll kill them is enough. So I was like, let me just keep one of these guys, and having just one of them is really nice because he's the guy I can send around the map to open chests and get secrets too,
Absolutely. It's really more because of their range of movement.
Yeah.
It's like they can pretty much go almost everywhere around each map that you're on. So, I mean, for me, it pays to have them available to do that, to take out certain ground troops and everything. And yeah, they do have that weakness to arrows, but it's like, I mean, I think that the payoff is kind of the payoff is worth it.
Yeah,
more or less.
it's worth keeping at least 1 or 2 of them on your team.
So and then you have the 2 archer types to kind of keep your long range attacks available.
Yeah,
to you. So
the archers in this game have really high mobility too. Not quite as much as the flying units, obviously, but they're often my units that I send out to move long distances, and that coupled with their high range, and they can counterattack from. Or attack from 1 square over too. Unlike archers and some tactical RPGs, they actually can fire up close if needed to. So that's nice.
Yeah.
And once you upgrade them to sniper, man, I noticed like their mobility just shoots through the tank, and so does their range. I was just once I got to that level with the Kira death trap, like I was just one-shotting those fucking those devices with my archers pretty much.
Yeah, straight up.
It was pretty nice, but I was also taking out the flying enemies with my archers at the same time, and I was like, or my snipers, I should say. Those snipers are really nice. The monk class was cool because that's both your mages and your healers can continue along their respective lines, or they can become a monk. And I also think it's worth keeping at least one monk on your team because and I used Sarah for that and balanced her as a healer, but also as a melee attacker that I could use.
Yeah, I find the monks to be really, really useful from both a healing and from both a melee perspective.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you really work on getting a monk's level up high enough, I mean, they could pretty much one shot certain enemies.
Yeah.
Depending on what we're talking about and what elevation they have and whatnot. So it's like, yeah, it's like you could totally. You could totally utilize the monk to full effect, especially as a good defense for like Ash if you're going to keep him a little back behind the front lines and everything.
Yeah, exactly. I can work as kind of like a mobile tank, but also a support unit. So that was really nice. Yeah. And I found myself using Sarah as the monk and then the ninja. But yeah, also effective as a frontline fighter, a really versatile class, and worth keeping at least one on your team. Not at the expense of mages though. Turn one of your healers into a monk, but keep both of your mages because the mages are insanely good.
Oh, the mages are just so much fun to play with, man. Eleni and Zora.
Those are the two that I picked too, and yeah.
Oh man, they're so much fun. Like especially Eleni. It's like once you start getting her up in the levels and you start getting some of the other. Spells and whatnot, it's like, I mean, you could just lay waste to pretty much the entire map if you play her just the right way.
Yeah. So yeah, I find that there are clear advantages with each class. Some classes are better than others, obviously, and some there's maybe a couple that you might have consider putting in your team, but overall, I did feel like the difference in classes was enough to keep me playing and testing out these characters and putting them in different situations, which is cool. I do like the branching system. I've seen that in a couple other games, like some Fire Emblems games have like a branching system like that. Hell, some of them have the system where it's pretty much like a job system where every character can do every class. But this one has, I think, kind of my favorite implementation, which is each character has has a starting class that can branch into different classes, and they may be more well suited to one in particular. So it's kind of just figuring what those character strengths are, and I love that element of it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, of course, Final Fantasy Tactics kind of gave us the definitive job system in a game like this. Where,
that's kind of the gold standard for tactical RPGs, and that unfortunately came out a couple years after that. I mean, this game was originally during that time where people were still waiting for Final Fantasy VII. So, we were seeing tons of JRPGs, and this
heady times, man.
This, along with Suikoden, was Konami's response to that. And this was in particular their response to games like Tactics Ogre and Fire Emblem. And it shows that they take some of the aspects of those games and really kind of do their own spin on it. Another part of this game that makes it stand out, I think, was the graphics, because this game uses fully 3D environments with 2D sprites. And it creates a really interesting effect. And I like how that the whole map is in 3D, and you can rotate the camera around and you can zoom in and out, and you can switch to an overhead view. The camera options are actually really robust, surprisingly. And so, sometimes it's a little bit difficult maneuvering around the map, but you can usually get a good angle where you can see the action. So, and the dynamic camera is pretty all right. I actually just kept it on the dynamic camera.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that the background graphics for each map and everything, oh my God, it's just those classic, chunky, textured PS1 graphics from back in the day. But and it works here because, I mean, mainly because it's not like a traditional RPG where you're actually, moving through a dungeon or something like that. It's like each map is its own self-contained level and whatnot.
Yeah.
And even with the cutscenes and everything, they utilize the battle map system as well in those to tell the actual story. So, I mean, and the 2D sprite work, oh my God, it's probably some of the best on the console, period. You know,
Definitely. The sprite work on this is incredible, and it looks really good. The animations are fluid. Like we mentioned, those kill animations are just so good.
perfect. They're perfect. And I mean, compare this to something like Beyond the Beyond, or compare this to Suikoden,
Yeah.
or to even something like Sayuki Journey to the West or whatever. It's like, I mean, these were it's like these pre Final Fantasy VII RPG games. I mean, they were kind of cartoonish and everything, but I mean, they fit the they fit the mold, and they kind of hit the desire for what we wanted, which we eventually got it with Final Fantasy VII, if you know what I mean. You know,
Yeah.
And then that's what I really enjoy about this game. It's like, from a graphical perspective, it stands out in comparison to a lot of the other games that were out at that time. And I mean, there's a reason why I still go back to this. I think I even still have a physical copy of the disc for Vandal Hearts somewhere in my collection. So it's something that's just kind of always been there whenever it came to PlayStation RPGs, and it is among the best.
Yeah.
Sostagaria. For over a millennium, the fertile lands in the heart of this vast continent were ruled by the Holy Asha dynasty, descendants of Taroa the Messiah. However, it is man's doom to forget. Amidst all the wealth and exotic pleasures, the nobility lost their way and sank into corruption and depravity, forgetting even the holy teaching of Taroa. It was in these days of unrest that the citizens, struggling under an oppressive regime, rose up and, under the leadership of Aris the Sage, took up arms against the kingdom. That was the first outbreak of violence in what would later be known simply as the Revolution. The royal army's counterattack was swift and fierce, but time and time again they were put to flight by the cunning strategies of Aris and the indomitable will of the advancing Liberation Army. Victory in hand, the rebels set up a council and worked to establish the continent's first democracy. And so, the Republic of Ishtaria was born. However, Aris the Sage, whom all hoped would lead the country, mysteriously vanished and has not been seen again to this day. Now, 15 years later, the shadow of war once again threatens Ishtaria.
No, and this game I think is also, as I mentioned before, it's accessible. No bullshit, no long tutorials. basics are easy enough to figure out, and you don't have to micromanage these characters' stats. But it also kind of encourages players to really learn these systems, as simple as they are, and work them. Like, I'm watching a playthrough right now, and this guy is actually allowing himself to be attacked over and over and over again, and then healing with herbs to gain experience. That's one way to grind in this game. You know, you just leave one enemy alive and let them keep damaging you to keep farming experience, so that you can level some of those characters up early. And I respect that. That's cool, is that you can. I think about these levels and I think about, hey, you know what? Next time I play this, like, there's a whole different way I can attempt this. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tactical RPG that really encourages you to kind of apply your own angle to it, to apply your own approach and whatnot.
Yes.
You know? And it's like a lot of tactical RPGs, they like to hold your hand. They like for you to kind of play the game a certain way. But this right here, I mean, up until like Final Fantasy Tactics, I mean, this was the game that kind of gave you the most freedom to actually do that.
Yeah, it really does, even though you are in these limited story scenarios where you have specific conditions. You know, the game still offers a lot of freedom. The other thing that's phenomenal about this, you know, accompanying the visuals, is the soundtrack. I mean, we mentioned the sound design for this is really, really good, but the music is great. So some of the tunes are better than others. Some of them are a couple of them are a little bit forgettable, and it can be a little bit repetitive at times. But I mean, some of these like battle themes are just straight bangers. And they're really good.
The battle themes are great, like especially when you have like different battle themes for your turn versus the enemy's turn. You know, you have different music that comes up there.
Yeah, other games kind of have like where like Fire Emblem, for instance, does it where like the battle music turns on just when you're battling. But instead, this game just has the battle music play while the enemies are going around, which can be a slog sometimes. Which is watching every enemy move one by one by one. Especially on some of these maps where there's just massive quantities of enemies, it can get tedious. But
well, I mean that's old school though. That's kind of going all the way back to how these type of games played on the old tabletop RPGs that were also tactical like that. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, and tabletop games like that. That's kind of how that would play out. So. It's not that surprising. It's kind of got that pedigree going back to how, you know, tabletop games and whatnot.
It does, but a remake or remaster of this game would be awesome, just to kind of add some quality of life improvements, like showing enemy attack ranges, and also, you know, like cutting down on the animations. I mean, I don't mind the ridiculously long magic spell animations. You know, I want to get some cum when I jerk off with that magic spell. You know, like I want to get the satisfaction.
Yeah.
But you know, at least with like, you know, showing every single enemy, you know, pausing, showing the enemy, then showing them move. It's like, okay, yeah, we could skip all that. There's definitely bits of this that could be tightened up, and you know, they could go for like the HD 2D style that we've seen in some newer JRPGs. I think that would this game would really pop out remastered like that.
It would, man. I mean, it would be really impressive, you know, to kind of give it some cleaner pixel arts, maybe some clean up the backgrounds a little bit, give him better textures and everything.
Yeah,
but I mean, I would probably be a little scared that it would lose some of the charm a little bit,
maybe.
Though, but I mean, it would still be interesting to see.
As of now, there is no version of this game that's available in any modern hardware. I had to emulate this, you know, if you can buy it on original hardware, you could play it that way. But those are your options. So I mean, this game has never even been ported. It was on the PS1. It later got a port to the Saturn, and I think it had a Japan exclusive release on PC. I've seen that the Saturn version actually makes a number of improvements visually. And is apparently the better version of this game. And now I kind of wish I'd played that version instead of the PS1 version.
Yeah, I'm going to tell the truth. I don't think I was ever even aware of the Saturn version up until recently.
Yeah.
So I haven't really seen actual gameplay from it. I would like to check it out. But I mean, if it's better visually and if it's just a better playing game, then yeah, that'd be nice. I mean, I only knew growing up one of my friends that had a Sega Saturn, so
Yeah.
I mean, I have a very limited a personal experience with it from back in the day. But I mean, yeah, it would have been great to play this game on that hardware.
Definitely, yeah. But there is one more aspect of this game that we haven't talked about yet, and it's part of what also makes this a mature game. It's not just the bloody kill animations, but it's the story. This is a surprisingly deep political story.
With some elements that kind of parallel current events in its own right, you know.
Really?
What with Hell Spites, you know, and the way that he comes to power in later chapters and whatnot. It's like,
Yeah. Well,
and then trying to get us trying to get into foreign wars that have no real reason to happen, you know, and also trying to go on fool's errands, trying to find like artifacts that could help bring the flames of judgment and whatnot. You know, exactly the type of stupid shit that a certain American president would do if they were running Ishtaria. So.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
what's really interesting is that this game follows Ash Lambert and at first his companions Diego and Clint, but more join as the story progresses. Of course, more join their party, but they're members of the Ishtarian security forces, so they work for the Republic of Ishtaria, which is the republic that was just set up, I think, 15 years prior to the start of this. Overthrowing the dynasty that had grown, that were apparently descendants of the Messiah Teroa, but had grown greedy and corrupt. But here we go, 15 years later, and the higher-ups are back to being greedy and corrupt because, you know, and that's a fact that Ash and his companions kind of happen upon early on in the game. Is there's some unease where they're having to follow orders and they're just trying to, you know, make it through with as little civilian casualties as possible. Like let's find a peaceful resolution, and then this bastard Cain, the son of Hell Spites, comes in and just kills those people in cold blood for no fucking reason.
Bastard.
And it's like,
Fucking bastard.
these are the people in charge, man. Like this is what
Once
we're
again-
serving, and that's early on in the game.
Once again, the parallels to what's happening in real life right there. It's like, oh, agents of the state murdering people
Yeah.
in cold blood for no good goddamn reason. Where have we heard that before?
But then again, those guys were wealthy bastards, so I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, even so, yeah, I mean, yeah, they are the losing end in that, you know, power to the people and all, but it ends up leading to another revolution later on after a little bit of a time skip.
Yeah.
And yeah, the former security forces are involved in everything, and they are standing against Hell Spites and Cain, and also Dolph, who ends up, I think, becoming more of a big bad than previously thought later on in the game.
Yeah.
But
I think he's like the main villain, and that's not apparent at first. He's just kind of suspicious, vaguely suspicious figure. Like we don't know what his motives are, but we're gonna go ahead and go on this mission or whatever. Then he comes in later,
Yeah.
and then later on, yeah, he kills Hell Spites, and then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, no, this dude's the big bad, I guess.
yeah, he's the Kefka of this. If you
Yeah.
want like a Final Fantasy VI comparison,
There you go.
more or less. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the villains in this game are fucking evil bastards, man. They're just dudes at the top that just want their fucking share, and that's it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's as compelling a villain as any. He's just a greedy bastard. That's all you need for people to do evil shit.
Yep. Both in games and in real life,
Yep.
apparently.
Yep. But
So,
yeah,
yeah.
it's a surprisingly deep narrative that it actually has like an episodic quality to it because you go through different chapters. So there's like 4 or 5 levels to each chapter. and then there's a pretty significant like transition in the story at that point usually. So it's like, okay, they show up on Gilberis Island, that's a new chapter, and then the events of Gilberis Island, and then Ash gets sent through a time rift and comes back 3 years later, and you're kind of trying to get the band back together again, and that's a whole chapter, and then it's like, oh, we got to save our friends, and we got to save Kira, and so it's just like one event after another, at the end of the day, I mean, Ash's companions were pretty much just used by Dolph and Speets to obtain the magic stones so they could get the flames of judgment. I mean, that's how this whole game starts, is this party is just kind of manipulated into this, and then they've got to clean it up.
And it just kind of keeps happening over and over again.
Yep.
And much to Ash and company's chagrin. And I mean, these are very likable characters, I mean, you
They
end
are.
up really starting to kind of like, especially the original three, Clint, Diego, and Ash,
My boys.
And the relationships.
The homies.
They're my boys, man.
I like the characters in this. I mean, some are definitely featured more than others. But I mean, even some characters like Diego and Eleni, they get backstories that are fleshed out in the narrative, and actual character development. And it's really interesting. And I like that the protagonist is named Ash. That was cool.
Yeah, that was awesome, right?
Yeah. I was like, hell yeah,
Oh, yeah.
man. It's literally me.
It's literally me.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
And Diego, I mean, at first he kind of comes across as like kind of a comic relief character, but no, he's actually got a lot more depth to him than that. I want to say Eleni is almost played like a love interest, just very, very ambiguously.
Kind of, sort of. You get more of an actual love story between Clint and Kira later on.
Yeah.
But, you kind of get that insinuation between Eleni and Ash a little bit.
Yeah, like there's like undertones to it, but yeah. And then like you mentioned, this game isn't necessarily like risque or anything like that. I mean, it as far as the story goes, I mean, it's pretty standard stuff. It's violent, it's people dying and shit, killing people, civilians just getting murdered, for no fucking reason, just to show how big our dicks are or something.
Absolutely, yeah, that's pretty much what it boils down to.
Yeah. But it's really, really good. Like that's one reason to recommend Vandal Hearts is, I mean, the gameplay, obviously, and I don't know that it does a lot of new stuff that we've never seen in tactical RPGs before, but it does it very well. And like I mentioned, it's accessible and it's simple enough to master. But with some difficulty walls at points. But the story, I think, is the real allure with this one, and the real reason that it kind of sticks out, and why I think it's a very overlooked title from this era.
Yeah, man, I wish more people would, for one, kind of quit overlooking all the different RPGs that came out in this particular era, in the pre-Final Fantasy VII era. Because, I mean, there was some really, really awesome bangers on PlayStation 1 from back in the day, Like, I mean, you have your Vandal Hearts, you have your Tactics Ogre, you have your Beyond the Beyond, you have Suikoden and stuff like that. But, it's like, this was probably the best of its era, honestly. And I'm glad that it's still out there, and I really, really think that more people really need to kind of start paying attention to this game, because it is a very rewarding playthrough, even to this day, emulating it on RetroArch or AutoBleem or whatever. It's like it's still a fascinating game to play through.
It is, yeah. Yeah, no, this it's a quality experience, and honestly, it is on the short side for a tactical RPG, but it was still much longer than I thought it would be, if for no other reason than me spending literally hours on each level. Well, some of the levels, some of them were a breeze, but spending hours on some of these levels, just reloading constantly to try to get an ideal strategy.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes you just have to kind of keep throwing things at the wall and see what sticks with these with some of these maps.
Yeah,
So,
there is a little bit of unpredictability to it sometimes because you can see their movement ranges and stuff, but you never quite know what's going to happen. Or it's like, oh, I positioned this one character a little bit differently this time, and suddenly the enemies are approaching me in completely different ways than the last time I played through this scenario. It's like, what? Okay, so now you're not coming at me this way now because of the position. So you have to consider everything.
exactly. Yeah.
But I mean, that's part of being a strategy RPG, I guess. I feel like this game in particular, I noticed it because I was able to get really deep into the mechanics, and I got really deep into them pretty early on, much more quickly than it took me in like some of these Fire Emblem games where it's like, okay, it's going to take me a while to get into all of these mechanics in this particular game, because they're always changing it up. But this one, it's like it's pretty basic. But it does a lot of things in interesting ways that keeps me, looking for more and easy enough to pick up, but tough to master.
Absolutely. I mean, it's almost like something you kind of have to approach kind of like a straight up board game,
Yeah.
Like a tabletop game. You have to approach it like that.
Or like
more or
chess,
less,
you have to think,
Or like
in
chess even,
advance.
yeah.
If I move this character over here, what's going to happen on the enemy's turn?
Absolutely. Yeah. You've just got to really match wits with the CPU and just kind of change your strategy accordingly. That's why, honestly, I wish there could have been some way that they could have found some way to make an online multiplayer version of this, because this would have been great for 1v1 playthroughs on maybe a generative map or something like that.
Can you do a turn-based multiplayer game? Like, how does that work? Would every character have to just every player just have to wait?
It would have to be online.
Well,
yeah, it would have to be online.
There's probably like a time limit. Like, okay, I could see how they could do it, where
exactly.
there would be a time limit that you could take on your turns. But yeah, that would be cool. I know the sequel Vandal Hearts 2 tried something else new, and it's a completely new game with a completely new story and completely new characters, and even the art style is just changed completely. But they did this new thing apparently where they have this dual movement system where every time one of your units moves, one of the enemies moves at the same time. So it adds to that unpredictability. But I'm thinking about it, I wonder if the whole strategic element of these types of games can really be held intact if you never know what's going to happen on the next turn.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I mean, they're part of what makes games like these click is whenever you start to be able to plan 2-3 steps ahead. And no, if I do this, the enemy will do this, and then I'll do this.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, there was a sequel, Vandal Hearts 2, on the PS1 that tried some new things. So props to them for that, for trying something new. And then much later, there was another game, Vandal Hearts Flame of Judgment, that came out on the Xbox 360 and PS3. And I gotta say, looking at the art style of that game, it doesn't really attract me.
Yeah. I never really was aware of it, so I can't really say much of anything about it.
It's got like a cartoony art style to it for some reason, but it's like still like a dark and mature story. So
Okay.
Yeah. I heard that it wasn't great. It doesn't really live up to the first two games, or really the first game. I mean, but from what I've heard, this game is actually the one in the series that is like the one to play. Like, you want to check out Vandal Hearts, play the original game on the PS1. And
Yeah,
I can see why.
Yeah, this is the definitive way to play Vandal Hearts, and it's the definitive version of this gameplay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I kind of played a little bit of Vandal Hearts 2 back in the day, but I couldn't really get into it as much as this one for some reason. So
Yeah. I might check it out at some point for sure. At least Vandal Hearts 2. But first I need to play through every level of this game 100% and get every single secret, and most importantly, get the Vandalier class for Ash, because I heard that it breaks the game. I mean, if the mages weren't breaking it already.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll go ahead and get into our final thoughts then. So how about you, Bo?
Man, like I said, this particular era of RPGs was just so much fun. It was great to be able to see all these early PlayStation RPGs come out and just kind of make their own, get their own personality and kind of make their own way in the on the console and whatnot. And this one was just so different. It was so bloody. I mean, it was a really great introduction to tactical RPG gameplay. And I mean, it has amazing magic systems. It has, I mean, lots of characters that you actually do kind of end up, actually caring about. And it has a storyline that is all encompassing and has all types of political intrigue and is actually very relevant to this day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is definitely one of those sleeper RPGs that everybody should really check out and more people should really talk about because, I mean, it really does get into some interesting areas as far story-wise and gameplay-wise. So, yeah, my final thought is go play this game if you can emulate it. I mean, you pretty much... That's pretty much the only way to actually do it is to emulate it. So, yeah, find a way to play this game.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, I definitely recommend seeking this out. If you can emulate it, that's not hard to find. If you have a PS1, then yeah, definitely pick up this game. I heard that it's not very expensive. But yeah, I think that this definitely shouldn't be overlooked. I would love to see this series come back. Like I mentioned, this game would be a perfect candidate. I know I've mentioned a few games, especially from the PS1 era, that this applies to. But it's a perfect candidate for a remake. It's a game that is kind of a cult classic that not a lot of people today will have much exposure to. Kind of bringing it back would bring, and like I mentioned, just adding some quality of life improvements. And cutting down on some of the tedious animations and stuff could help. But other than that, I mean, I think that if you do have access to this game, I think it's actually a really good time. It's a really good experience because, like you mentioned, Bo, I mean, even some of the faults of this game are just kind of a product of games of this time, and you still enjoy them despite that. And it kind of adds to the charm and the simplicity of it. It is a game that is not have a lot of technical things for a JRPG. Does not have a lot of technical things to keep in mind. So yeah, it's fun. It's got a great story that's deep and rich and political and relevant. And I dare I say this game probably has had some influence on the genre. I mean, it borrows a lot from others itself, but it does a lot of interesting things and it executes them really, really well.
Absolutely. Definitely.
But hell yeah, that was our review of Vandal Hearts. Bo, what's going on with Collateral Cinema?
By this point, we should have both of our Lord of the Rings trilogy review episodes out. Mm-hmm. And tomorrow we will be recording our Rocky 5 episode. So, yeah, we will be continuing our coverage of the Rocky franchise. And we are going to be getting into what is arguably the weakest link in the entire franchise. Like, I don't even know what they were trying to do with this.
It's really the only bad Rocky movie.
It really is. It's like we're going to get into that. So look for that coming soon. And also our season finale, which will be Solo, or the 120 Days of Sodom with Kaylee from Once Over with Kaylee on YouTube. And then we'll be getting into our 420 special, which will be Mystery Science Theater 3000, the movie. Something that I have a lot of love for. So, yeah, look for all of that. And we'll probably take a little bit of a break after the season for maybe one episode cycle. And then we'll be getting into our post-season content, which I think we're going to do some Adult Swim content. We're going to do some At the Movies episodes, maybe some director's cut content. So, yeah, look for that coming very soon.
Hell yeah. Yeah, and I think we'll go ahead and do an episode on Scream 7 soon. You and I need to record that.
Yes.
Because it was certainly a movie, but I definitely want to touch on it. And that came out at the same day as Resident Evil Requiem. We have recorded an episode on that, and I'm just waiting to release it. I actually wanted to get the Vandal Hearts episode out first. So as soon as this is out, I'll start working on the Resident Evil Requiem episode. We should have that here by this next week at the latest. And then after that, we're supposed to be doing an episode on Ark. So let me get in touch with Megan and see if we can record 1 or 2 episodes of that. We maybe floated the idea of doing a spoiler episode of Resident Evil Requiem and turning it into a 2-part episode, but we'll see. Just kind of depends on if Zach had floated that idea, and I might just end up doing it. But we also got a lot of other stuff to get out. So, but yeah, not least of which Ark. Maybe. We'll see. But definitely by April, we'll be getting into our Bad Game April content. So Big Rigs and Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero. Those were both of your picks as well. And
fun times.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. So more retro gaming content as it happens. And then for our season finale, a 2-part episode on Clair Obscure Expedition 33. And I'm really excited to actually 100% complete that game because I finished it, but I didn't do all the post-game stuff. So I'm going to do all the post-game stuff, and then I can't wait to do a review on it where we can get into spoilers because, yeah, it's a game I definitely have wanted to talk about in detail since it came out.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that is the rest of the season, so stay tuned for that. We'll have some more Game Lunch episodes here and there. I know Crimson Desert and Fatal Frame 2 remake both just came out. Both are ideas that I floated about maybe doing an episode. If not, we may throw 1 or more of those in the year in review episode, of course. And we'll do more Let's Play content as well. Right now, we did just get out an episode as of today, recording this new Shooter Saturday episode, playing Black Ops 7, and played my favorite game mode, Gun Game. Gun Game is back, so I had a really good time with that, and actually managed to pull off a few decently competent gameplay clips at some points, so that was fun. But next Shooter Saturday, we'll be doing more retro shooters. So, Bo, you and I, we're going to record Heretic Blix Hexen together when we get a chance.
Nice.
We'll also be continuing Phoenix Wright Wednesday with Turnabout Samurai. We've got a couple more segments to go. And then we'd be moving on to Turnabout Goodbyes finally. And then we are also doing Metroid Mondays. So while I'm playing through Metroid Zero Mission, I've got maybe just 1 more Let's Play left to go on that before I finish it. Because I pretty much did, I fought Mother Braid. I got the power suit back. So at this point, it's just item collection and then facing the final boss. So that'll be fun. And then I'll start playing through Metroid Prime Remastered on Metroid Monday. So I'm really stoked about that. I'm also trying to include other games like Game Lunch games or games that I'm playing for the podcast, and just... do Let's Plays on that on like off weeks. Bo, you talked about doing Beat 'em Up Fridays maybe soon.
Yeah, maybe soon here, pretty soon after the season is done.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of stuff that we can cover on Collateral Let's Play. This guy's really the limit with that. And then we are also partners with W Energy. So use the promo code CGamingPod to get 10% off your first order. And it's a great product. I highly recommend it.
Absolutely. Good stuff. I mean, it's jitter-free energy, sugar-free. I mean, it's energy straight from coffee beans. And it's a lot of fun.
Yep.
It's a good drink to supplement instead of Monsters and everything or Red Bull. It's like, I mean, it gives you a good energy boost. It gives you good focus, and it doesn't make you all wonky and weird or whatever. So yeah, definitely use C Gaming Podcast to get your tub of W.
Hell yeah. If you want to support our show, we do have a Patreon. where you can get access to exclusive Let's Plays that you won't find on our YouTube or movie commentaries. And the next bit of Collateral Cinema content that we'll get out will be the Fateful Findings commentary that we recorded. So I'll have that ready here very soon. We also do have a merch store on Dashery, and you can find links to that in the show notes, along with our Buy Me a Coffee. You can help us rise up the ranks on Good Pods, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, or feedback on your platform of choice, which is, pretty much wherever you get your podcasts. We're also on social media at Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, and Twitter. And yeah, if you have any suggestions, if you want to guest on the show, if you have any comments, if you want to tell us that we suck, then hit us up on the socials.
Yeah, you suck.
Yeah, especially if you're watching me play Battlefield or Call of Duty and you're like, man, has this guy ever played a fucking first-person shooter before?
Fucking A.
Maybe I'm too hard on myself, but yeah. Thank you to everyone for listening. And I guess that's just about it.
All right.
So with all that being said, I've been Ash Lambert.
And I am Diego.
This was Collateral Gaming. We are out.
Out.
Collateral Gaming is a Collateral Media podcast. All music and game clips are owned by their respective creators and are used for educational purposes only. Please don't sue us. We're poor.